Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India is set to launch Agnibaan sorted mission. This will be country's first launch from a private launch pad, utilizing the world's first single-piece 3D printed engine, the Agnibaan. Fresh truce talks between Israel and Hamas will resume in Cairo. CIA director and Qatari PM to join Egyptian mediators for Sunday's talks. Mexico cuts diplomatic ties with Ecuador after police stormed Mexican embassy in Quito to arrest former Ecuadorian vice president. And in Indian Premier League, Joss Butler 100 overshadows Kohli's 113 as inaugural champions. Rajasthan Royals go 4-0 up. News in detail. Now, India is set to launch its Agnibaan sorted mission at 7:30 hours IST from the Agnikul launch pad at the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Andhra Pradesh on Sunday. The Agnibaan suborbital technology demonstrator will showcase the capabilities of India's new semi-cryogenic engine, the Agnibaan, and the rocket's technology. The Agnibaan is the first single-piece 3D printed semi-cryogenic rocket engine in the world. The rocket is 18 meters long with a diameter of 1.3 meters and a lift-off mass of 14,000 kilograms. It will be capable of placing a 100-kilogram satellite into a 700-kilometer orbit. This is India's first launch from a private launch pad. Agnibaan sorted will lift off vertically and follow a predetermined trajectory while performing a precisely orchestrated set of maneuvers during flight. Now let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. As election fever grips the nation, political parties are intensifying their efforts to secure victory in the upcoming general elections. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit 3 Indian states to hold public rallies on Sunday. The Prime Minister will hold public rallies in central Indian city of Jabalpur, Bihar's Nawada, and East Indian city of Jalpaiguri during the day. Earlier on Saturday, PM Modi addressed the people of Saharanpur and Ajmer. A grand road show of PM Modi was also held in UP's Ghaziabad. And the Communist Party of India released its manifesto for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections on Saturday. CPI General Secretary D. Raja, along with senior leaders, released the manifesto in New Delhi. While releasing the manifesto, the D. Raja said CPI will form the government with left, progressive and democratic forces and will work to ensure decent minimum wages to all labourers. He added that party would seek increased funding to create a health and education infrastructure which is accessible to all. Now, Uddhav Thakere's campaign got a fresh setback ahead of the Lok Sabha elections as former Maharashtra Minister and Deputy Leader of the Shiv Sena UBT, Baban Rao Gholap, joined the Shiv Sena led by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. Gholap joined the party in the presence of Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, State Minister Dada Bhuse and Deputy Chairperson of Maharashtra Legislative Council Neelam Gorhe. Shinde also, he said, to more MLAs from Rajasthan will join the party in the next 2 days. Gholap is a 5-time MLA from Nashik district of Maharashtra. Now, managing logistics in a country with 968 million voters is an incredible task, and it will be carried out by the Election Commission of India when the country holds the general elections. Our next report tells you more about the ECI's role and its powers.
After India became independent in 1947, the founding fathers of the Indian Republic envisaged a representative parliamentary democracy based on the universal adult franchise. Keeping in line with those ethos, the Election Commission of India was established on 25th of January 1950. The ECI is an autonomous constitutional body responsible for conducting and regulating polls. Its powers are broadly divided into three categories: administrative, advisory and judicial. The administrative powers include registration of eligible voters, preparation of poll schedule depending on the availability of resources both in terms of execution and security needs, scrutinize nomination papers of candidates. The poll body's most important task is to ensure the fairness of the electoral process and prevent incidents of rigging, booth capturing and violence. Coming to advisory powers, the ECI can recommend the President and the state governors to disqualify sitting members of Parliament and members of legislative assemblies respectively if they are found guilty of indulging in corrupt practices during polls. As for the judicial powers, the Election Commission cannot review any poll result on its own. This can only be done through an election petition which can be filed before the High Court. But the ECI can settle disputes related to recognition of political parties. Apart from ensuring free and fair elections, the poll body has also been organizing various awareness campaigns to increase voter turnout. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Congress President has approved the proposal for the formation of the campaign committee of the Rajasthan Pradesh Congress Committee for the general elections 2024 with immediate effect. The AICC on Saturday approved a 32-member campaign committee for the Lok Sabha elections in Rajasthan. Former Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, Deputy CM Sachin Pilot, Congress candidates CP Joshi and Pratap Singh Khatria have been included in the committee. And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will visit Rajasthan on Sunday. Rajnath Singh will address 2 election meetings there. He will address people of Rajasthan in Bikaner and Jhunjhunu constituencies. Earlier on Saturday, Rajnath Singh addressed the people of Madhya Pradesh state. Meanwhile, the national president of Bharatiya Janata Party, Jagat Prakash Nadda, will hold election rallies in various places in Tamil Nadu on Sunday.
India has laid down a hard line once again when it comes to its policy of zero tolerance against terror. In an interview given to a private television news network, the nation's defence minister minced no words on the extent to which the Indian government is willing to go to punish perpetrators of terrorism, even if it means crossing international boundaries. The minister said, "If any terrorist attempts to disturb India from a neighbouring country attempts to carry out acts of terrorism here, we will give a befitting reply. If that person escapes to Pakistan, we will go beyond the border to kill such a person. Whatever the Prime Minister has said, I stand by it. India has the strength and ability to do it, and Pakistan has also begun to understand it." The Defence Minister was responding to a query based on a report published in the UK's publication, The Guardian, which alleges that after the Pulwama terror attack in 2019, India adopted the strategy of eliminating individuals threatening its national security in foreign lands. The report is completely source-based and makes no attribution to any named individual or official in making these charges. India's External Affairs Ministry officials have denied all the charges made by The Guardian, terming them false and malicious anti-India propaganda. A previous statement by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has also been cited, wherein he says the targeted killings in other countries are not the policy of Government of India.
He means no words on nation's war against terror, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Moving on to our next story now. In Chhattisgarh's Bijapur district, bordering Telangana, 3 Naxalites were gunned down in an exchange of fire with security forces in a dense forest. The encounter took place in Pujari Kankar forest along the interstate border when a team of greyhounds, Telangana's elite anti-Naxal force, was out on an operation. A team of Chhattisgarh police was also present in the area to extend auxiliary support to the greyhounds team. Huge amount of arms and ammunition also recovered from Naxals. Now let's take a look at other stories making news. Several coaches of Visakhapatnam-Amritsar Hirakud Express train were damaged after a high-speed car broke the closed railway crossing and rammed into the train in Anuppur in central state of Madhya Pradesh. According to the reports, one man has lost his life in the incident. An earthquake of magnitude 4.3 on the Richter scale hit the Andaman Sea during early hours on Sunday morning. Similar earthquake tremors of magnitude 3.4 were felt in Kargil, Ladakh during late hours on Saturday night. More than 1 lakh lamps were lit in Anchumukku Devi temple in Thiruvananthapuram on the occasion of the Utsavam festival. This is the first time that lamps were lit up in connection with temple festival. A lot of devotees thronged the temple to offer prayers. And hundreds of devotees thronged the Hazrat Bal Dargah on the occasion of Shab-e-Qadr on Saturday evening in Srinagar in Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Located on the banks of Dal Lake, the shrine hosted the largest congregation, drawing thousands of devotees across Kashmir. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US on high alert for Iran threat in region after Israeli strike in Syria. Peter Pellegrini to be Slovakia's president as ex-foreign minister Ivan Korkok concedes the defeat. And in Indian Premier League, 5-time champion Mumbai Indians will take on Delhi Capitals, while spirited Lucknow will face Gujarat Titans.
71% of our planet is just water, and a majority of this is in our ocean. So let's dive into this today and try to understand the importance of oceans, the threats that they face, and the conservation efforts being made.
Start the Adopt a Coral program, and it's a 1-year adoption period. Transplantation process basically involves our fabricating. It's just a frame of the table. We get it to the site of the transplantation and we lower it into the water.
Carbon management is not a scientific challenge, it's a scaling challenge, right? And it's an economic challenge. So being able to demonstrate that carbon management technologies are accessible, affordable, and scalable is really what we need to do.
We have more maritime storms, erosion, high temperatures, floods. All of this has been affecting the lagoon.
We refurbished half a container for our own use. After adding lights and a fan, we got the idea to start a business, making living spaces with these containers.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Delegations from Israel and Hamas will head to Cairo on Sunday in the hopes of reviving stalled ceasefire talks. This comes as the Israeli government is under increased international and domestic pressure to reach a deal with Hamas to release hostages being held in Gaza. DD India's Alex Kadia reports from Tel Aviv.
Well, very, very high stakes for that ceasefire talks meeting. We know that all the senior players will be present. On the Israeli side, you have David Barnea, the head of the intelligence agency, the Mossad, and Ronan Bar, the head of the security agency, Shin Bet. On the other side, Hamas sending its deputy leader to these negotiations, mediated by CIA Director Bill Burns and by Qatari and Egyptian officials. The pressure absolutely on. Joe Biden has told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to give his negotiators room to operate, room to strike a deal. We also know that he's asked the Emir of Qatar and the Egyptian president to put significant pressure on Hamas to do the same and come to these talks constructively. Now, we know that the previous two deals proposed by Israel have been rejected by Hamas, who said they were basically the same thing. The structure of the deal would be 40 vulnerable Israeli hostages, women, injured and elderly, released in exchange for 700 Palestinian prisoners, 100 of which are serving life sentences here in Israel. Now the sticking points remain. Hamas demanding the full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. That is not going to happen, say Israeli officials. They also want a longer lasting, what they call a comprehensive ceasefire. And again, Israel saying they will only do 6 weeks. And that has been negotiated for months now. And finally, the last sticking point where Israeli officials say they can be flexible is the return of civilians to northern Gaza. They say they will allow more. The other aspect of this is the US pressure on Israel to allow more aid to flow into the Gaza Strip and to have a pause in the fighting, particularly as we've seen a 47-year-old Israeli hostage's body has been recovered just in the last day. He was kidnapped on October 7th, killed according to the IDF in January, and his body buried in Han Yunis in Gaza, only recovered by Shin Bet and the IDF. So clearly, for the families of those hostages, for the civilians starving in Gaza, time to reach a deal is running out. Alex Kadia in Tel Aviv, reporting for DD India.
And the Joint Operations Command of the Ministry of Defence announced the implementation of the 26th airdrop of humanitarian and relief aid as part of the Birds of Goodness operation. The United Arab Emirates Ministry of Defence released footage on Saturday, reportedly showing its air forces dropping humanitarian aid parcels into northern Gaza in a joint effort with Egypt. 2 UAE C-17 aircraft and 2 Egyptian C-295 aircraft participated in the airdrop operation. Over 80 tons of food and relief aid and supplies were dropped over isolated areas in northern Gaza. And as part of an international effort to help set up a new humanitarian maritime corridor, a British Royal Navy ship will supply aid to Gaza. The multinational effort involving the United States, Cyprus and other partners will develop a new temporary pier off the coast of Gaza. British Foreign Minister David Cameron pledged $12.26 million for aid equipment and logistical expertise to help set up the maritime corridor from Cyprus to Gaza. The initiative will see aid pre-screened in Cyprus and delivered directly to Gaza through the new US temporary pier being constructed off the coast or via Ashdod port after Israel agreed to open it. And the hostage families of the Israelis still held in captivity in the Gaza Strip cancelled a planned rally in Tel Aviv on Saturday and held an urgent plea for the return of their loved ones. The move came after news of the body of a hostage was recovered. Israel said on Saturday its special forces had recovered the body of 47-year-old Elad Kazir, killed while being held captive in Gaza, which raised concerns among the family members about the fate of the remaining hostages.
Today we got a very bad message about Elad Kazir. He was hostage for 3 months. He could handle 3 months and then they killed him. We don't know what about all the rest. This is the time, not a day more. This is the time to bring them back. All of them as soon as possible. We have to bring them back home.
It has been 6 months since Hamas fighters broke through from Gaza into Israel on 7th October, killing about 1,200 people and taking hundreds hostage. UN Chief Antonio Guterres once again condemned the attack and called for the unconditional release of all the hostages.
The 7th of October is a day of pain for Israel and the world. The United Nations and I personally mourn with Israelis for the 1,200 people, including many women and children, who were killed in cold blood. Nothing can justify the horror unleashed by Hamas in October 7th. And I once again utterly condemn the use of sexual violence, torture, injuring and kidnapping of civilians, the firing of rockets towards civilian targets, and the use of human shields. And I call for the unconditional release of all the hostages still held by Hamas and other armed groups.
Now, the United States says it is preparing for a possible Iranian attack in Israel or the region. US officials are warning it could come in retaliation to Israel striking the Iranian embassy in Syria. DD India's Nick Harper sends this report from Washington. All right, Mexico has suspended diplomatic ties with Ecuador after police raided its embassy in Quito to arrest former Ecuadorian Vice President Jorge Glass. Nicaragua has also joined Mexico in cutting all diplomatic relations with Ecuador as a flagrant violation of international law. Glass, convicted twice for corruption, had been holed up in the embassy in Quito since seeking political asylum in December. Glass has been accused by Ecuadorian authorities of embezzling government funds meant to help rebuild after a devastating 2016 earthquake. He has now been flown under police guard to the city of Guayaquil and is expected to await trial in a maximum security prison. Meanwhile, Glass says he is the subject of political persecution and had been sheltering inside the embassy. Glass served as Ecuador's vice president between 2013 and 17. He was relieved in fact of his duties because of mounting corruption allegations against him. Later that year, he was sentenced to 6 years in jail in connection with corruption at the Brazilian construction giant Odebrecht. Ecuador's foreign minister said on Saturday that Mexico violated the principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of the other countries. Minister Gabriela Sommerfield said the principle was violated when Mexico hosted Jorge Glass in its embassy in Quito and prevented authorities from arresting him. Sommerfield added that Glass could not be classified as a political prisoner. Arrest of Ecuador's former Vice President Glass sparked outrage in Mexico City, which suspended relations with Quito. Now in Slovakia, Peter Pellegrini wins the presidential election, defeating Ivan Korkok. Peter Pellegrini received 56.7% of the votes in Saturday's runoff election, topping former Foreign Minister Ivan Korkok, who had 43.3%. This election result propels Pellegrini to be Slovakia's 6th president since its independence from Czechoslovakia in 1993. The outgoing president, Zuzana Kaputova, known for her support of Ukraine amidst Russian aggression, chose not to seek re-election for the largely ceremonial role. Although Slovak presidents wield limited executive powers, they can veto laws or challenge them in the Constitutional Court. They also nominate Constitutional Court judges, potentially shaping political conflicts over Fico's reforms, which aim to reduce penalties for corruption. Former US President and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump appeared at a fundraising event in Palm Beach, Florida on Saturday. After arriving at the event, Trump promised that change would come very quickly once he regained the presidency. The event, slated to be his biggest fundraiser yet, is a much-needed opportunity for Trump, who has been routinely outraised by Biden and is in the midst of a financial squeeze due to ballooning lawyer fees and legal payouts. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden's re-election campaign raised over $187 million in the first quarter 2024, almost double what it took in during the previous quarter. Sports now. We'll start with IPL. Rajasthan Royals on Saturday defeated Royal Challengers Bengaluru at Savai Man Singh Stadium in Jaipur. Josh Butler along with captain Sanju Samson routed RCB bowlers after RCB set them a 184-run target. Butler and Samson stitched a 148-run partnership for the second wicket as the chase looked like a cakewalk. Butler smashed unbeaten ton in 58 deliveries while Samson scored 69 of 42 balls as the home side achieved the target with 5 balls to spare. Earlier, Virat Kohli slammed his 8th IPL century and first of 2024 edition with this win. Now RR go 4-0 up and top of the table. A fit again, Suryakumar Yadav will be expected to immediately deliver the goods when faltering Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals lock horns in a bid to arrest their side in the Indian Premier League clash in Mumbai on Sunday. With 3 losses in a row, Mumbai Indians are languishing at the bottom, whereas Delhi Capitals have spiralled down to the 9th spot in the 10-team points table following a 106-run hammering in their last match. And in another Indian Premier League encounter, Lucknow Super Giants will clash with Gujarat Titans in Lucknow on Sunday. Both the teams have won 2 matches each this season. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.